Hello, today we are happy to have Echo Young, the supply chain director of the ASG trading company in the UK. She has over 18 years in the supply chain products and has lots of experience about the industry. So we are happy to have her to share the experience. So Echo Young, can you say hello to everyone? Yes, today, yeah, we are focused on discussing the topics about the impact of COVID-19 and how the challenge affecting the furniture industry. So, shall we start now?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first question I want to ask is, what's the challenges and the effect, the changes of the post-pandemic?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Echo Young. I'm very happy to share this information with you. About this post-pandemic, it's sadly that we have seen that it has been affected 36 million people affected by the coronavirus. I was invited for a speech for last month, and by then I was saying that 23 million. That obviously about 30 days it has been increased. 13 million, which is unbelievable, sadly. So there are so many effects and so many things and changes for the post-pandemic. The key was about the risk and uncertainty and the change. So first of all, I think the main thing is the political and economy environment are going to have a lot of change and uncertainty. For example, like the trade between the US and China, even the Huawei case, even now the American situations, which is affecting the global economies and the political positions.
Yeah.
And it's a long-term effect, not just for the coronavirus, but we anticipate it probably will last for 2-3 years and even change something which we will never get back, like we haven't had the pandemic.
Yeah.
And the negative impact of the industry is it gonna affect the supply chains and some manufacturing. Something we easily can see is there are lots of manufacturers being closed down in Far East, not only in China, but also in Vietnam's or in Myanmar's or Laos, many of the Asia countries. The reason for that is for the first 6 months, it was really quiet of the buying markets for the orders. But now when everybody survived, when the market start getting back, a lot of factories and workers that are no longer to be able to continue. So that's the serious impact.
Yeah.
Immediately happens in the industry, but also in the long term, because this coronavirus is going to affect buyers, travelers, and also the workers, whether they were still back to the working in the factories, and some of the factory may change their strategies. So this is making many uncertainty factors in the industry. And also we can see that the inventory, because all these uncertainty factors is quite difficult to control your supply chains. Whether I should take more inventories in the destinations so we can, in case anything happens again, so we can still have the stock to sell, or we need to control the inventory rather than we keep all the things in the destinations, keep all the eggs in one basket. So this is also a bit to be or not to be questions for the buyer, but obviously the inventory is a key of the margin. If the inventory goes too high and you will never be getting down or run out your turnover rate, it's going to cause a big problem and killing all your margins. So all these uncertainty factors will affect the buyers to consider their buying plans or the whole supply chain structure. Another risk we can see increasing in recent is the breach of the contract, both of the supplier or the buyer. Mainly it happens in the supplier that they are unable to continue their supplying, or something happens because the coronavirus and that happens with their cash flow, the factory is no longer to be able to support or supply the products, but the breach of the contract, the risk going to be affected, be absorbed by the buyer, or happens for the buyers which has been bankrupt or has been run away or bad debits for their financial problem. So on the other hand, that it be absorbed by the supplier. So yeah, that's one of the risks that happens for the post-pandemic.
Yes.
But we also see some positive change is the online retail has been further developed.
Yeah, agree.
Before the pandemic, yes, we can see that the online retail actually increased quite dramatically in recent years, but especially during the pandemic, we can see that it just increased dramatically. Even myself, I do everything shopping's online. That's the parts that it even change your lifestyle. So yes, I think the online retail is really going very fast.
Yeah.
And also, I think people probably also aware that, say in UK, the property market, we has been locked down from March to May. But however, up to May until August, only these 3 months, plus the January and February, only these 5 months, the property exchange is already meeting the whole quantity as last year whole year. So you can see many people is changing their homes and moving around. So and more people just think about whether we really need to go to work in the office. We can work remotely. And such change is driving people either change home, either change their, to reset their homes to be more comfortable, to be more suitable for work or for the family. So obviously the home and the furniture retail, it's increased a lot more than before. It keeps going up. So that's very positive. Yeah, that's a very positive sign for our industry. So sometimes we say it's bad, it's good. We will see. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, agree. So how do we reduce the cost of the purchase, and then how is to minimize the risk about the supply chain we are facing now? So can you share your experience?
Yes, this is a good question. I believe that all the company has paid sort of lessons for this case. It just, nevertheless, it's more or less, but everybody must learn that lessons. So we can see is that for the cost, we easily to see is that the cost could be product cost, but actually for a procurement cost, including 3 factors. First is the product cost. It's a direct cost that everybody can easily to see. So you can see its price of the product, is the logistic cost, is the custom duties, and all these direct costs. And I believe every buyer is a very good negotiator on this part. But rather than the direct cost, actually, we can see there is another invisible cost, which is actually taking a bigger part of the management cost. So including the management cost and the cost to control the risk. So this is 2 parts that it could be run into a cost besides or not included in the procurement cost, but actually is a very important part to make up the whole cost. So the management costs, such as when you have a buying team, you have a procurement team, or even you need somebody in China or in Far East, that's the management cost for the whole team. And also the travel expenses, and also communication costs, order management costs, quality controls, even the risk control, some of the financial controls, all these costs being summed up as the management cost. And for this part, it actually, it's not, we probably will see that from your quarter financial report or your annual financial report. It's not immediately, it's not an immediate result that you can see, but end up that it actually is be taken from your gross margin to your net margin. So this is the part that eating the margin. And also it's the cost to control the risk. for it's the cause of the risk. For example, like the loss of the loss caused by the supplier's breach of the contract, or the loss caused by the internal operation error, or it's the in collections or rebuying because the supplier's breach of the contract, or also it could be a management cost of the process, or it's some unforeseen profits. So for all these two parts, if you can imagine, it's like ice mountains under the water. For the product cost, it's on the very, very top part. And usually, as our experience in the supplying market, it actually is being very, very average of the, you know, when you buy the products from one factory, comparing the price to the other factories, because the high competition, it actually, the cost difference is very minimized. It's no more than 8%, it's maximum. And up to your negotiation, it probably moving within the 8%. But from the management cost and the cost of the risk, it could be up to from 15% to 20%, the margin from your gross margin to your net margin. So this is the main part that when you're looking at your supply chain, you need to consider the whole comprehensive cost, not just the product cost itself. And also for the risk of the supply chain, it's including the compliance risk. For example, like UKFR, fire resistance. For this part, it's a must. And if you're not familiar to UK market, you probably will cross the border and it's gonna cause you a big trouble or record for the product. And so that's the compliance risk. And also that like the risk of the suppliers breaks contracts, or quality risk, or product risk, or even the delivery risk. So all this risk is, or even, you know, the internal errors of the risk. So all these parts is we deem to be the errors, the risk of the supply chain. And the management and the control the supply chain is a professional and a comprehensive field that you can't just look at one point or 2 points. You need to overview of your whole supply chain, and you need to balance every sectors at the same time. And it's not only just like the products, the supplier, but also with the outer factors like the political and economy situation. It could also affect those factors. So so only by the management and the control will solve the supply chain problem, but it will take time to really to see all the every single details. It's not just like go on for a negotiation, get a good deal. Supply chain is not just a deal. It's a whole plan. It's a long process. And also it requires a good plan, because we can imagine that, for example, if you buy something from Far East, from product development until you place the order, until the whole process, until you receive from the logistic, it will take from 4 to 6 months. But during these 4 to 6 months, it could happen many things. You're right. So every sector is very important. Any sectors will be waste time and waste your cost, and even to influence the whole process. So for the supply chain, there is no shortcut. The only way is just to review your supply chain carefully, make a professional team, and just make sure that every sector has been covered and be looked up to carefully, so you can make a good plans for you. It really takes time and experience. So I think in my experience in this field, so for more than 18 years, I think I'm still in the middle, just to learn more. You can either to set up a very professional team, or you can hand over this part to a professional partner to increase your work efficiency. So that's upon to the company. But I think mainly it's this way. There is no other shortcut or other special way we can do for it.
Okay, that's a really good point. You are in ASG for more maybe 18 years and have a rich experience. So can you share your experience how ASG achieved in reducing the procurement costs and supply chain risk?
Okay, thank you. ASG is it's actually accompanying a whole group. So our background is coming from a supply chain management company. So this is our field. And our philosophy is that we do all the preparations, we build a foundation before we moving on. So we spend a lot of time and energy to build our supply chain foundation before we start to selling anything. And we believe the first step, it's a good start, is to work with a right supplier. When we say right supplier, it means that they are professional, they are sophisticated in the workmanship and the factory's management. And also it's a supplier who is focused on manufacturing. So this is a good supplier that we work with them. But before we selecting to work with one supplier, we usually will compare from 10 to 15 suppliers until we get the one. 15. Yes, until we get the one and one backup. So this is a preparations, and it takes quite a few work to do that. But I think that's very important start point. And also the whole team is both the China team and the UK team. We have more than 15 years in the supply chain. So we already come up a whole systems from evaluating the supplier to understand the whole process of their manufacturing to the cost controls. We have a whole systems to do that. So usually we will compare suppliers quotes, like I say, from 10 to 15 suppliers at the same time. And also we will evaluate, we will inspect every single manufacturers, every single candidates. And also we will evaluate the equipment, the production process. We will speak to the owner to understand his plans and his philosophy of the business. And also we will check the compliance, social responsibility, and all these factors is being considered as evaluation systems until we select the right one to work with. So at this part, we believe a good selection is already get 50% of your achievement. And the next part is to take care of every small sectors. And like I say, from product development, from the order management, from the quality, even from the loading of the container or the logistic. That's very small sections that it could involve a lot of details and communication between different parties. But we usually, for every single orders we place to the manufacturer, we will send our people, our QC, to inspect in the factory at site, at least before the shipment. But we sometimes will also carry on the inline. So what we do is just try to cover and monitoring the whole process before any risk come out, and we can control it immediately. And also in the recent, for our industry, the information management is very important. Basically, if you sit in the office, you are managing all the documentation to make sure every party is being covered. So information management, we already improve but we keep improving and to increase our efficiency. So I just get an examples like, years ago, we used to have our QC people to inspect our factories. By that time, we found some people from some QC from other company coming and staying in these factories, but they're not really inspecting anything, but they're just waiting in the factory. So our QC come back to say, oh, well, we found that. And so they chat with they speak with those QC from the other company and understand that actually the reason for them to come over was because the factory has seriously delayed the production and they are actually come to monitoring. So with all this side, with all these informations, we understand that, okay, we're forecasting it could be a potential risk. And we immediately to start the backup supplier to replace. So this is something that it could start from tiny, but it could change the whole pictures. So every sectors in supply chain need to be very careful and detailed. And you really need to look down to the earth, not just listen what you hear from different parties.
Okay. Yes, that's very good. because the COVID-19 affects a lot all over the world. So China, made in China is become one of the focus topics nowadays. So do you think after the pandemic time, made in China is still competitive enough globally?
Oh yes, this is a question that I'm very exciting to answer. My initial is from China, and I'm very proud of the countries. So as known, in recent, we can see there is some uncertainties in political or economy, and it brings up the worries about China. But I have to say, for the furniture industry, especially for the mass market furniture manufacturing, made in China still have a very obvious advantage in the global market. And my personal opinion, it could last more than 10 years. So because furniture is a comprehensive manufacturing industry, unlike say doing shoes or garments, it's more about the labels, more about the material just to sewing them together. But for furniture is much different, and it actually involves a lot of accessories, and the whole supply chain is more complicated. So we can analyze these questions from different factors. So you can see that why made in China is still very advanced in the world. So first is the infrastructure. So infrastructure including like water, electricity, land, high-speed highway, even the seaport, manufactories, everything, or even energy, the energy support. So this is something that it's supported by the government. It's not just someone can change the whole picture, but with about 30, 40 years stable development from China, the government's doing a great job. And you can see in China, there are so many areas become a very large scale infrastructure building, and it's a large scales of the industry areas being built up in these 30 years. And this is something that not many countries can be easily to exceed.
Yes, that's
right. From the other part is the industry supply chain supporting. For example, for furniture, it involves from wooden frame, metal frame, fabrics, foams, accessories, all the things. But in some of the industry area in China, you can't imagine. I visit them that even in the same industry area, you already got everything be sorted, even until your carton, until your carton box, until your printing, everything being sorted at the same area. So by this part, the supply chain is much shorter. So the transfer cost between one sector to the other sectors is a lot cheaper, and the whole supporting is tying together. So this is a very sophisticated supply chain, which won't be easily dissolved or be separated. And I believe this is something that other countries is not having that foundation as well. And also the raw material supplying. As we can see, yes, China doesn't have many raw material being made in China or produced in China, but they probably importing from North American, they're probably importing from Southeast Asia. But because the large scales of China's manufacturing, the raw material supplying, the whole cost, the import and the whole supply chain of that is very sophisticated, and the prices is unbeatable, even beating with those origin countries. So this is the raw material supply. And also the labor costs. We understand that in China, Chinese people is naturally be very hardworking, and with all these decades years development, we already have lots of the skillful workers, and they are very willing to use their hand to change their life. So they are very hardworking, and the scale of the labors and the numbers of these people, a huge population, is supporting the whole industry. And also, we, as I just mentioned, about the skillful workers. This is something that you can't immediately have them. It needs time, it needs a lot of training and practice, and it takes years and years experience. So with China's stable development in these 30 years, it does build up such foundation, but such foundation, it can be existing in 10 years or quickly be replaced by somebody else.
Yes.
And so I just take an example to show you. I've been to Vietnam many times. I even been to Vietnam, the industry like in Quy Nhon, they're producing the acacia outdoor furniture.
Okay.
For acacia, because acacia wood is coming from Vietnam origin, so they do have the cost of the material, the raw material cost advantage, and also the labor cost in Vietnam is cheaper than China. Yes. However, if you considering that if you buy a container and it's shipping from Quy Nhon, there is no port, it's an inland small town. Yes. So a container must be shipped be loaded in Quy Nhon and then go to the Ho Chi Minh port. It takes about 15 hours for the truck from Quy Nhon to Ho Chi Minh City. And then when they load to the port, the boat, the vessel, it actually need to come to China to transfer to a large vessel to Europe. So from Quy Nhon to UK, it usually takes about 56 to 60 days. Why? If you ship from China, if you ship from Canton, it takes about 23 days. If you ship from the north of China, it takes about 45 days. So it's a big difference of that. Also, we can see the difference from, for example, India. India is regarded as the most competitive to China. Yes. However, again, the infrastructure of India, like electricity, like waters, is not stable. And they don't have such a large scale building in their highways, in their ports, and all the industry supporting facilities. So India, they probably be cheaper in the labors. They probably be good in some more like a single workmanship industry. But if you're looking at the comprehensive workmanship industry, like furniture, it still has a far way to go. So we believe that China is still the core of the furniture manufacturing for mass market in the world. In the decade years, our buying was still focused in China, and we believe this is most of the buyer's choice.
Okay. Thank you, Echo, for sharing a lot of experience and opinions in the supply chain industry. And we know a lot how buyers think and what their considerations. Thank you so much, Echo, today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.